Okay, fifth grade, we are proceeding along here in chapter 6 today with division. Now, today is going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to be having the numbers out here that are going to be fairly easy to work with, anything from 11 up to maybe about 19, if we even go that big. But it's going to be kind of numbers in the teens or with a 1 in front, 11, 12. Something like that. And this first number is always going to be a 1. This is how all of these problems today are going to be set up. You're not going to have any remainders today. It's going to be pretty straightforward. So it's the same idea. We don't want to forget this idea of divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, start over. That idea that if we start over, then we've got to go back and divide again. So 192 divided by 16. Well, we know that 16 can't go into 1. Okay? But 16 can go into 19. As we talked about, that's always going to be 1. And that's not real hard to figure out, that 16 is only going to be able to go into 19 one time. So then I multiply 1 times 16. Well, 1 times 16 is 16. And then I do 19 minus 16. Well, 9 minus 6 is 3. 1 minus 1 I know is 0. Then I go ahead and I bring the 2 down. And this is where it's important that we find the number. I know that 16 times 1 is 16. And if I go ahead and I try 16 times 2, I know that 2 times 6 is 12. Put the 1 down. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. 32 is not really that big of a number, so I get 32 here. I see that 16 can go into 32 2 times. I see from right here that 2 times 16 is 32, and that 32 minus 32 is 0. All right, moving right along. 195 divided by 13. Well, once again, I know that 13 can't go into 1. But it can go into 19 one time. So I do 13 times 1. 13 times 1 is 13. So I do 19 minus 13. 19 minus 13 is 6. I bring down the 5. And this is where, like we said, we know we're not ending up with remainders. So I want to think, well, I know I'm doing 13 times something, and I'm ending up with 65. That's what I need to end up with. So really what I want to think is, what do I multiply 3 by to end up with a number that ends with a 5? Well, I know that 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. And 3 times 5 is 15. 15 also ends up with a 5. So I'm going to try 13 times 5 and see if I get a match with 65. 5 times 3 is 15. Put the 5 down, carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. Sure enough, I get a match of 65. So I can say, well, 13 can go into 65 5 times. And of course, I always like to check my subtraction, so I want to revert back to that. When I did 19 minus 13 and ended up with 6, I'm good with that because 6 is less than 13. But now that we figured out that 13 times 5 is 65, I can bring down, divide. 13 can go into 65 5 times. 5 times 13 is 65. 65 minus 65 is 0. All right, 224 divided by 14. Well, once again, 14 cannot go into 2, but it can go into 22 one time. 14 times 1 is 14. When I go and do 22 minus 14, can't do 2 minus 4, so I borrow from the 2, make it a 1, make that 2 a 12. 12 minus 4 is 8. 1 minus 1 is nothing. I know I'm okay because 8 is less than 14. And so I know I'm okay there. 8 is less than 14. And so I'm good there. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring down the 4. And it's time for me to figure out how many times 14 can go into 84. Well, the same trick I used up here with the 3 and something that ended with a 5, I'm going to have to do the same thing. 14 times something, I'm after 84. So I'm thinking of my 4 times tables, and when I get something that ends with 4. Well, 4 times 1 is 4, but I know it's not going to be 14 times 1 is 14, so I can skip over that. 4 times 2 is 8. I'm looking for a 4. 4 times 3 is 12. I'm looking for something that ends in a 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Doesn't end in a 4. 4 times 5 is 20. Doesn't end in a 4. 4 times 6 is 24. So I can try 6, because 24 ends in a 4 along with 84. So I can try 6. 6 times 4, so I know is 24, so I'm going to put the 4 down. Carry the 2. 6 times 1 is 6, plus the 2 is 8. And sure enough, and I want to revert back, once again, remind you of the subtraction. When I did 22 minus 14 and got 8, I'm good with that, because 8 is less than 14. And as I show here, 14 can go into 84. 6 times 14 is 84. 84 minus 84 is nothing. I end up with a final answer of 16. All right, talk to you later. Bye.